You know what? It's early in the morning. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much you literally just dropped your kids off at school. So thank you very much.
Oh, I'm wide awake now. Hey, you've got to be honoured as a mom. Balancing cereal all over your shirt. And
Is that what this morning's breakfast was, cereal?
it's usually some version of chaos. So yes, cereal or oats mixed with chaos.
Okay. There's always the chaos involved. No
Always.
matter what else there is, there's
But
chaos.
we love it.
I guess it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you younger.
It does. It does.
So, guys, thank you. Rob, Nicole, thank you so much for coming through. Do you want to maybe just introduce yourselves quickly?
I think we should introduce one another.
Yeah, do that.
Beautiful.
And in the left corner, sitting to my left, in the black, the one and only, the fire starter, the owner of the island, the one and only soul survivor, Rob Bentley.
All right. I don't know how to beat that, but
That's okay. It's just Nicole.
yeah. Her name is Nicole, and she's a boss of all bosses. She is a former Mr. South Africa, pageant queen of note,
World peace.
adventurer, mountain conqueror, and survivor runner-up.
I was robbed.
She was
See what I
robbed.
did there?
Nicole Austin.
Yes.
So that's the new surname now.
Yes, rebranding 101, falling in love, getting married.
And speaking of getting married, someone here married you other than your husband.
Yes, we were fortunate enough to have Pastor Rob officiate our ceremony.
Nothing but a blessing.
Yeah.
I was really grateful when they asked me. Honestly honored, and also grateful to be part of that situation. I mean, I love Clint as well. Really amazing guy. She could not have chosen a better partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
He keeps telling me if anyone's going to stuff it up, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
And how was that? Were you nervous?
No, like I feel part of the family, so for me it was kind of like, you know, just talking about my mates and
Okay.
stuff. Yeah, it was really not informal, beautiful, comfortable vibe. Yeah.
And how do you go about being able to officiate a wedding?
Well, that was initially what we planned on doing. I was going to go do the whole online courses and whatever needs to be done, but later on we kind of just decided, you know, let them. You guys, they did it legally, and then I was just the guy. The monkey making noise.
Okay.
The fluffer.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You need fluffers sometime.
Thank you.
So, guys, you know what? Life before Survivor. You obviously mentioned Nicole as Mrs. South Africa, and you've been on the podcast before, so people have some of understanding of who you are. But what else were you doing before Survivor?
I think Survivor for both of us was such a pivotal moment, and certainly I think the reason that we did so well was because we were desperate for that change and that catalyst. And certainly for me, I was this people-pleasing, world peace recovering beauty queen, and I think that was my only achievement since I decided to change my life. I wanted to pick myself up and be an example to my kids because my daughters fight with a rare disease, and that's why I entered Mrs. South Africa, and it put me in this box of trying to make everybody happy. And then suddenly Survivor comes along and you're faced with the rawest, most exposed, vulnerable, broken version of yourself, and that was what I needed.
Okay, sure. And you?
Pre-Survivor, life was quite tough for me. A lot of downs, more downs than ups. But I was blessed enough at the age of 28 to meet a shaman by the name of Yahweh Bane from the Amazon and spend 5 days with him, and that completely transformed my life. I came out of there a whole different person. I knew something big would happen. And sure enough, as expected, it did.
Can you talk about your experiences there?
I can say it, yeah. I drank a drink called ayahuasca with him. And he guided me through that space. He helped me wake up, and the person who came back was completely different to the person that.
And is that different to peyote?
I'm not sure what peyote is.
Okay, I think so. Ayahuasca is that? What's that from?
It is from. I know it's a vine from one tree, and then it's a leaf from another tree.
Okay.
They cook it together in the jungle.
Okay, I think peyote is the Mexican version, which actually comes from aloe or something. I think it's something similar.
Yeah. There are different versions of it, but it's all indigenous medicine, ancient indigenous medicine, and I believe 100% I'm a testimony to that stuff. It really does work. help you wake up very quick.
And I mean, you obviously, actually, I was listening to an interview at 947 with both of you, and you're so quite involved, and you meditate, and
Correct, yeah.
and that was obviously something you almost learnt there with the shaman as well.
That's right. Like I had been in that space for a year previously, you know, learning about meditation, chakras, energy, and I became fixated in that world. And it eventually led me to the medicine. The medicine calls you. Mother Ayahuasca calls you. And that was just the final step to, bam, trigger a whole new person.
Okay.
It's beautiful, yeah.
And Mother Ayahuasca and actual mother of kids. how was it for your children, you know, watching you on TV?
That was the toughest part of the journey, was to leave your kids behind. Harder for them, I think, because suddenly their mother's not there anymore. And that was what I faced the most, I think, resistance about. And, you know, your greatest vulnerability will become your biggest strength in life. And my vulnerability, my insecurity, actually, was going on Survivor and doing something selfish when I am a mom. And that's what I think a lot of women face, that criticism, even if it's just that self-judgment. And mine was not just self-judgment, it was public judgment on the show, judgment when I got back from family. And, you know, I've been through previously a really messy divorce, and it complicated that beyond belief. So I got back to this storm. And it was a really healthy process, and I think every storm is a healthy one, because in that, my kids learned so many valuable lessons about what you want out of your life, what are you prepared to do for it, and now they want to be brave adventurers. They want to go and do brave, cool things, and then we tell each other stories about it afterwards. And to the point there where my kids just go on a little a walk in the complex, and they come back, and my daughter says to me, "Mom, I found a rock I've never found before, and I climbed it all the way to the top, and I wasn't even scared." And that's the kind of spirit I want to breed in my kids, despite what culture around you tells you that you shouldn't be.
Sure. That's powerful to, you know, be able to have that impact on your kids. And then I think obviously there's a lot of women, a lot of kids, a lot of, you know, people that related to you on the journey, you know, your journey on the island, and, you know, people that kind of found themselves in you and, you know, obviously can relate to you and relate to both of you, obviously. And, you know, did you guys have anyone that kind of helped you with your relatability, like a PR manager, someone that, you know, looked at you guys and said, okay, well, for you to do better, I think you should act a certain way in certain situations, you know, to almost leverage you around compared to the rest?
Well, look, on my side, I can definitely say there was no such thing. I think just sometimes people even ask me, Rob, how's the best way to get on Survivor when actually trying to get on the show? And I say, strip it down, be yourself, show your heart chakra, don't put on a mask, take it completely off, show vulnerability if that's need be. They want to see genuine human interactions, people who aren't afraid to go on camera and be their true selves, not put on a show. So on my side, I definitely didn't have anything of the sort. I was just myself. And also just touching on you with how you were treated, the backlash during the show and after, I think it was absolutely ridiculous, because I did very similar things, but the moment Steffi or Nicole did it, because they're like pageant queens and they're women, and they were judged so harshly. They were actually, you know, a lot of people would DM them and things like that, you know, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm doing similar stuff, and I never received any sort of, you know, commentary like this. So that's the kind of culture I think we really need to try and fix.
That's
in this
incredible.
country.
Like, I've never heard you say that. I've said that a lot, but you've never actually said that.
Yeah.
To hear it coming from you is like ridiculously amazing, because that is what we have, this societal pressure as women to be nice.
Yeah.
And we face it all the time in business. And if we're being tough, if we're being focused, if we're being very, maybe it's called cutthroat, it's called bitchy, it's called, you know, it's called a whole lot of things, whereas a guy does it and it's like totally acceptable. Yeah. But in saying that, I would like to say that, Robbie, it didn't matter how good we were, and that maybe it was unfair because we were women and we were judged harshly for being women, even by the jury on the island. That wouldn't have mattered. Even if that narrative didn't exist, you are still the rightful winner of Survivor. I don't say that because I'm your mate, but you know, you have to. And I think you sitting here in the podcast, Jess, you can actually experience that Rob has such an energy that it transcends being smart or crafty or strategic or vulnerable or authentic. It's beyond all of that. It makes people feel welcome and safe.
It's in his eyes.
Dangerously safe. No, but genuinely.
Yeah.
And it's a very rare quality. And it added a lot to the season as a whole. And I think that was the gift that Survivor Season 7 gave South Africa walking away, was they'd never seen anything like that before. And certainly that was what our alliance was based on, was that complete unspoken trust. And we never said it, hey?
Never.
We never looked at each other and said, okay, we're in an alliance. We just knew that this is everything that he
Very
hears,
early
I
in the
hear.
game. Yeah, very early.
And why do you think that is? Is it, that maybe you saw that person like, out of this situation, I could see myself being friends with this person. Obviously now you are friends. So clearly, it was kind of, you could resonate well with the other person.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually saw Nicole. We don't really talk about this, but we were traveling. Logistically, they have to get the contestants there. So we would share, some of us would share flights. And I remember seeing her in Singapore, and then I saw her again in Fiji. And then when we landed in Samoa, I was like, I'm 100% sure this chick is on the show, or something to do with the show. And she had a shirt on, it was a black shirt written Love and Light in gold at the back. Remember that?
I remember that.
And when I saw that just told me so much about her, love and light. That is the core fundamental principles of what all this work is about. And I realized that this is someone that I can really bond with. So by the time we got on the show, I already kind of knew that this is my person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that. Good wardrobe choice that day.
Yeah.
No, but I felt Rob's energy from the moment that I met him as well. It wasn't, everybody is guarded on Survivor by default, but there was never any guardedness from Rob. And I think that was a very rare space to be when you're so exposed.
And did you find times, that you thought like, okay, no, there's cameras on me, there's this and this, act in a certain way? Or was it always kind of just you guys just being yourselves? Obviously thinking smarter because you knew you needed to progress. But was it ever like, okay, there's people going to be watching at home when it eventually airs. I want them to see me as a certain way, or you just genuinely yourselves?
I would say, look, the first 3 or 4 days on the show, you are like that because you're also a bit nervous. These cameras run everywhere, and so you sort of are acting, or you have your shield up. But that game breaks you so quick, so fast. You're hungry. It's
especially
like
our
you
season,
end up not
right?
even caring. You forget the cameras even there.
Cyclone season.
Cyclone season.
No.
You forget the cameras are there, and you start living life as if you start forgetting that this will even air. I started talking so much shit to Owen lied to you during my confessionals. I started talking so much shit to these cameras. Because I didn't think that this is ever going to go back up. I thought I'd never even leave that place, So you get so into the game that all breaks out eventually. It breaks out very quick.
It's designed to break you as a human, and the sooner you break, then the more real you are. Because you actually don't care.
Exactly.
You don't care about a camera or who's watching or who will even see your story. You don't care who will see you naked.
Yeah, you started changing in front of the cameras.
I was like, I don't care anymore. You're so cold. I mean, it's cyclone season. It was raining non-stop. We were freezing and shivering and just... We couldn't stay dry. We were never dry.
Yeah.
And nothing else really matters. The cameras don't matter.
Okay. And you obviously, I know you enjoy hiking and the outdoors and everything. So you kind of accustomed to that life of, obviously not to that extent, but, and you, how were you, obviously you went on the trip with the shaman and everything, but, did you like nature before the trip, and did you enjoy like putting yourself out there in vulnerability?
Oh, look, most definitely. For me, I spent quite a long time with my grandmother in the rural areas of KZN. My parents made it a point, so I learned the language, I learned the culture. It was very important for them. So I would spend extensive periods of time there. No electricity, no water. It was like Survivor. So when I got on Survivor, it was almost like I'm visiting my grandmother. So I was quite comfortable there. But in general, I just learned how to make fire with the bow drill method as well. I'll actually be posting that on my Instagram probably today. So yeah,
and
I love things like that.
You winning, you being the runner-up, Idols everyone always says like, what, it's actually not the best thing to win Idols, because then you tied to record labels, you're tied to contracts, and with Survivor, I assume it's slightly different because it's not like, obviously you have contracts and everything, but you're not tied to only producing one thing that someone tells you to produce. You still, I assume, have the freedom to be able to, diversify your brand and do what you want to do with your own personal brand. You know, was it something that you thought about during, or, you know, are there things that kind of you feel like, okay, as a winner, I'm stuck doing this, or I would have been better off coming second?
No, I definitely am grateful. Mnet was very lenient, very understanding. They never really forced me to do anything I didn't want to. I myself was never in the entertainment industry. Like, obviously, Nicole, you know it far better than I do. You know, she can navigate that space very well. She had been there already. But when I sort of got there, I didn't feel too comfortable. It wasn't something I pursued to stay in the entertainment industry. I'm more interested in business and in the background. Entertainment will always come second for me. And so that's why I never really pursued much, and I needed to let things cool down for a while. But I'm ready to come back. You will be seeing me back very soon.
Okay. Yeah. And you, how was it? Did you, you know, obviously, I mean, coming second still opened so many doors for you.
I know it sounds really cliche to say that I didn't go to win, but I think it was, I went for the Bear Grylls experience of it. And I literally entered a week before entries closed.
Sure.
I didn't even know that entries were open. And along the way, I got more and more excited. That it was like a kid in a candy store. And being there, it was never hard. Yes, we were cold and shivering. That was probably the worst part. But I loved it. And I'll never forget the feeling on that last day, day 39. I think I get emotional thinking about that day, because we sat there, Doral, Rob and I, on that beach. We'd just eaten croissants and bacon drizzled with honey, cooked over a fire.
We had bubbly.
Butter. We just ate butter. And to think, we did it. We survived nature and humans at their rawest for 39 brutal days. And that's, for me, what I went for. I know that sounds really cliched to say as this runner-up, I didn't go to win. But the best part, and it sounds like we want the heroes to win, but I did. I wanted the good guys at the end. We always said that, the amigos, one of us must be at the top. And to see and know, I think I walked into that final tribal knowing that this is the rightful winner of Survivor. It was just the best day ever for me. And I didn't walk away feeling like I lost anything. The entire experience was a gain and a win and an incredible opportunity that changed me forever.
What were the final votes? It was like 5-4, or what was it?
It was 6-4.
6-4.
She nearly had me very close.
It was close. I didn't expect to be
right.
close.
From that day, at that moment, you just reminded me myself that it was like that final day we were there. Nothing mattered anymore after this. What happened as a tribal council, we couldn't get. It was like we won one way or another. Look at this. It was the most beautiful thing ever. But painting everyone's names on the sand, talking about them. I mean, it was...
And then you're leaving that island and you think, I'll never be back here. I will never have the opportunity to be back on this beach. And I turned around and I ran back and I grabbed Paul's shirt, because we used it. First I used it just to keep warm, because he left it there and I didn't steal it.
She was stealing everyone's clothes. You get voted out, she swiped your clothes.
I was cold.
Snooze, you lose.
Then we used it actually to strain coffee. So that was my momentum. I ran back and grabbed Paul's shirt and left the beach.
Nicole had a whole wardrobe by the time that thing. Everybody went over. Nicole was the first one to swipe their clothes.
I still have Mabba shorts. Thank you, Mabba. I wear them to gym.
And you love nature, as you're saying. And that actually reminded me, I don't know how often you guys watch Netflix, but there's actually a show on Netflix coming soon where, have you guys ever watched Black Mirror?
Yes.
Have you watched the interactive Black Mirror where you kind of decide?
Yes.
Okay, so what Netflix is doing now is basically it's interactive. So you can now, there's a situation, you can choose the outcome. You can say, okay, Jesse, decide to talk to Nicole. Jesse, or you decide to talk to Rob.
It changes the
choose
whole
your own
movie.
adventure.
Yes, exactly.
That was my favorite book when I was
So
growing
I
up.
think that's, and especially now Bear Grylls is coming out of the series. So the intro scene is basically him running away from a lion. The car doors are locked. He can't get inside the car. An option comes up: hide underneath the car or climb the tree. So now you're interactive. You obviously, we all know it's not really going to happen. He's not going to get attacked or whatever, but you can choose, okay, I want Bear to now climb under the car. Then obviously your situation is going to film Bear Grylls going under the car. You're going to see that line of work.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's the future of television, is interactive. And there's even Minecraft for kids now on Netflix where they can choose the situation, where it's going to go, what's it going to go. And I think, that's also what Survivor is at the end of the day. those small choices of this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I think there's so many choices that you guys made that I'm sure you were thinking, you know, maybe I should do the other choice, you know, and something else could have happened. And obviously at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you're happy. And obviously you said you were still happy that, you know, you made the choices and, you know, the good guys won.
Yeah. That's not his first time doing that show, eh? He's really got one that's out.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be the second time.
Oh, so he's done that interactive
I've seen it
one.
before. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's incredible. Very nice. A lot of fun to watch. But yeah, on that point, as you're saying, like, you know what was really nice about it, or on my side, what I enjoyed is you always watch TV or whatever show it may be, and you're like, hey, this idiot should have done this, and you know, we always have these things. And finally, I found myself in this situation where I was doing it now, and I could control the show. The moment I realized how well I can control it is when I came up with that lie at the Island of Secrets. I mean, I sat there and I thought, what am I going to tell these oaks when we get back? And we wanted them to start fearing us now. And I came back with a complete lie, and it worked, and it completely shifted the entire dynamics of the game. I mean, Mike was going to take me out that day, but because of a simple lie that I came up with on Island of Secrets, boom, you know, so it was nice to actually be part of it. Now you're in it, you know, you're not just saying, oh, you should have done this. You can completely move the show any direction you want eventually, and that's beautiful.
And I assume there's a lot of like, okay, if I make this decision, this is going to happen. If I make this decision, that's going to happen. And I think it's difficult because you don't know actually how other people are going to react to the decision you make. I mean, there's infinite possibilities.
Correct.
And that was the fallout after every tribal council, to get back and realize that our decisions had consequences. But we could still manage those consequences because we'd inserted ourselves into certain relationships in ways that we could always communicate any information at any given time.
So now, you know what, making those decisions, and I actually want to get your guys' opinion, because obviously now you are, you know, your household names, you in the public eye, and recently there's been a lot of cancel culture, and there's been a lot of people making certain comments and, you know, being deplatformed or being fired. There was actually a lady now that acts on The Mandalorian, who she was taken down. She was fired from The Mandalorian, from Disney fired her because she made some remark where she compared something to Nazis and to, yeah. So I don't know what it was, but there's a lot of backlash saying, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know exactly what she said, so I don't know how bad it was. But I saw a lot of things saying like what she said wasn't bad. She was comparing something to Nazis, but it wasn't like she was making a joke of Nazis. It wasn't like she was. So there was a lot of people saying, you know what, it's not right that these people are being taken off social media. And, you know, it was basically, people saw this Instagram post I think she made, and the trending hashtag was fire, whatever her name was. I can't remember her name. And Disney then saw all these tweets and like, okay, we need to keep up public appearances. Let's fire this lady. And then she's fired. And I assume, you know, after that, she's going to be, you know, she's not going to really get work. And then I saw a post saying like what she said wasn't nearly as bad as like what Joe Biden has said about comparing people. He compared Trump to Nazis. But he didn't get deplatformed. He didn't. So it was just interesting to see how, you know, one person, maybe because of their political views, gets shut down, even though they didn't do something as bad as someone else with the correct political views in terms of what the media want the political views to be. And obviously, I think, as we all obviously on social media, you know, you're kind of scared now to make certain posts because you don't want to offend anyone. You know, your intentions might be perfectly fine.
I agree with you, and I actually think that there is some aspect to this culture that's healthy because it's accountability. And we learned this on Survivor is you're so raw and exposed, you're going to be yourself. And there were a lot of people that said and did things that they regretted afterwards, and that they were also held to task by social media for. And sometimes that's a healthy process because it's actually something deeply ingrained in you that you believe and you're saying, and then you have to sit back because people are judging you and think, why do I believe that? And it's a healthy reevaluation. And something, you know, comments like that, they don't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They come from deep-seated issues or beliefs that are probably inappropriate. And it's sometimes healthy to have that called into question. I know that it's extreme, and that I know sometimes it's unfair that somebody's held to task and someone else isn't. But we have to speak out about these things. And I think it's a good thing that you and I, with public platforms, have to think about what we say before we say it. And everybody should. You shouldn't be able to just say these judgmental, critical, bigoted statements and get away with it.
Yeah. And it's difficult because, you know, you want everyone to have freedom of speech, but also, I mean, you want people to have freedom of everything, But, you know, if you do something that's technically illegal or something that it's difficult, where do you draw the line in terms of what is too much to say, what is, you know, on social media, and what should be taken you off social media? What, you know, like with Trump, I mean, he was literally, they were saying he's going to take off, he's been taken off Twitter and everything. You know, it's interesting, obviously, I mean, but those are extremes where he literally almost coerce people to, you know, storm the Capitol and everything. So like at that extent, you can understand when people, when someone has the ability to almost make people do something illegal, then obviously fair enough, take them off social media, because, you know, that's not going to provide any good into this world. And I think that it's difficult to draw the line where, you know, take this guy off, or maybe censor this post, or maybe, you know, and also that's why social media is and should be only used for good. Because, I mean, I'm sure everyone has those people on Facebook, all they do is rant, all they do is say negativity, all they do is complain about this, especially, I mean, all around the world, but especially in our country, all people are doing is just complaining about the government, complaining about this. You know, why? There's no benefit from that.
Sometimes when you see something online that makes you feel insecure or angry or shocked, and you want to judge it harshly, I think it's always healthy to stand back and say, why do I judge this? You know, what belief set am I judging this from? And, you know, you suddenly reevaluate that maybe the world doesn't revolve around you and your beliefs. And it's okay to have freedom of speech, and it's okay to say what you believe, but say it in a way that doesn't inflict on or infringe on somebody else's beliefs.
You know, look, I treat my social media like this. I see it as your modern day photo album. I mean, we don't have photo albums anymore. So it's, sometimes people say, oh, all people ever post on Instagram and Facebook are the good times. And I think, yes, of course. You don't want to post a picture of me crying or something going wrong. So it's a modern day photo album. It's a place where I can put my best memories out there and share them with people. I don't see it as a platform for me to rant and rave about something. I want to try and only put out good stuff out there, and that's how I treat my social media. It's not that I'm afraid to obviously speak my mind out, but it's not the platform for that. You know, like now we're in a podcast, we're talking. Now we can obviously speak about views and stuff, but as far as social media, I don't even bother. It's just good energy. That's all I'm putting out there.
And so at the end of the day, we are running our businesses through social media. No one wants to do business with someone that just constantly complains about the government or whatever. No one, exactly. Everybody.
Please stop. Just leave the country.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, let's be honest. I love South Africa. South Africa is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Yeah. Where else can you have a big garden? Where else can you, you know, even just go to little parks, walk on the streets? Obviously, there's times where it's unsafe, but at the end of the day, you know, our properties are so much bigger than overseas. We're not in the whole city with no grass. I mean, think about living in New York. Beautiful place, but I mean, I could never live on a place where basically you never see any grass.
Yeah.
Every country has its issues. Yeah. Every life has its problems. You know, if you don't like something, change it. That's my belief. If you are in South Africa, if you live here, there's a certain set of problems we face, right?
Yeah.
You address what you can help with, make a difference, maybe contribute in some way, and the rest of it just keep to yourself. If you have a voice and you can use it for change, then use it in a positive way. But to send out, you know, continual streams of complaining memes and, you know, undermining comments and sharing false news, and it's so unnecessary, and it's not helping anyone.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, bad news sells, and, you know, sometimes a little bit of drama. I assume obviously you guys saw this on the show as well. A little bit of drama sells.
Yeah, of course.
And I assume there were times where you're like, you know, maybe causing a little bit more drama here is going to benefit me in the end.
Yeah, look, I will say that there was drama on the show, but there's also certain situations which are amplified by the producers. Especially, I'll go there, especially the Jacques situation. Yeah. It looked far worse than it was. It's when I said, look, no one talked to Jacques one-on-one, blah, blah, blah. That was a move, I didn't even know, but it was straight out of the handbook of Boston Rob as well. He did a very similar thing. But the way that it aired, it looked so much worse than it really was. I mean, we were talking to this guy. He wasn't like, okay, you stood in the naughty corner. It wasn't as bad as it looked.
And our actions were completely justified. In you know, we were defending somebody on the tribe that had been attacked. So, you know, it was accurately portrayed, but it was dramatized for effect.
But you understand, it's the show's success is all of our success. So you just go with it.
And there were no times really where, you know, they filmed and the way they edited and everything that you were like, I actually came across different than what I was actually, who I am.
No, they really were as accurate as possible to the real story that happened there. But obviously, you are gonna make it more. You're gonna spice it up, which is completely understandable. Every chef spices up their meal before presenting it.
And now, you know, going forward, you say you've got something in the works, which is exciting. I think everyone's going to have to wait and see what that is, going back into the entertainment. You also have been in entertainment, and after being Miss South Africa, you can't obviously go back and do that.
No ways. And it's also shifted for me as well, like Rob said, to more of a business focus. I think we realize what's important, and the entertainment industry has given us so much, but we can actually use it to create platforms and to build relationships. But from that, it's about business and how we can add value to brands, to people. You know, both of us want to have successful businesses where we lift up other businesses, lift up other creatives and other influencers and people wanting a chance and a shot in the industry. And that's far more fulfilling for us than seeing our face on TV.
And now, obviously, I was going to ask you a question. I've completely blank.
It's the blue eyes.
I think it is.
It says you.
That's actually a little... It's almost like looking at the same eyes. Yours are more green, though. Yeah. I assume, obviously...
We both did the eye thing. Trust me.
She's just better than me.
Trust me.
I know you reminded me what I was going to say just by you saying that. So obviously, Mrs. South Africa, it's not just about how you look. Obviously, there's a whole aspect of the person, the mind, the views, everything. But did you ever find that maybe going into Survivor, you know, most people, they think a beauty pageant is the person superficial. But obviously, Mrs. Africa is different because you go into more detail. But did you find like I can kind of break that stigmatism of just being a good-looking face? Now I can show people that I can get down and dirty.
That is exactly it. I think you put it into words. That was why I wanted to go. That is why I felt I fulfilled my journey. To strip it down and say none of your heels and your lipstick and your selfies matter. You're real and raw. You haven't brushed your hair in 39 days, literally. You have been going to the toilet in the sand. You don't have soap.
No
I
toilet
know
paper
that sounds
either.
silly, but it's not just that.
Just use leaves.
No toilet paper.
No toilet paper.
No, nothing. No toothbrush. Well, charcoal. And then you sit in front of a camera and you're raw and real. It's not these posed, practiced judges' questions that you're answering. But it goes beyond that. I mean, before Mrs. South Africa, I was running a warehouse as a pharmacist. I was literally ticking off spreadsheets every day and hiding from what I wanted to become and who I wanted to be. And it's been a slow evolution and a journey. Well, not a slow one, quite an accelerated one, which has been incredible. And I'm so excited to see where it can go, because I look at other people and I get a lot of DMs. I don't know about you, Rob. Like, how do I want to do this? How do I do it? I want to enter a pageant, or I want to enter Survivor. What do I do? And the answer is always just do it. Just push yourself and say yes and go and try something new and exciting. And I think if I have completely redefined my life and my identity in 5 years, where could the next 5 years be? And what could somebody who's just coming out of school achieve, despite their limitations, despite what they've been through? And I really hope to tell that story a little bit more and encourage people to just take your circumstances that you've been dealt, and then look who's around you who wants to support you, and learn from them, and then just take action. Actually just do something. Do the crazy, brave things that scare you and tear you apart inside.
Yeah. Just to add on that quickly, when it comes to Nicole, if you look at her on the surface, you think that, okay, this is just, you know, some hot chick and that's that. But having done Survivor with her, personally, I can honestly tell you from the bottom of my heart, man, this thing's made of nails. Physically, mentally, spiritually, I could not have done what happened. What happened on Survivor couldn't have been done by me alone. It's like, it's this lethal combination that we have together, where I'm strong, she's weak, where I'm weak, she's strong. We are just, if I was to be called to do the Amazing Race, for example, tomorrow, there's no other person I'd want to take him after. She's badass. I promise you, it's incredible. She digs so deep inside, and the strength that comes out there, man, it's next level. I promise you, I wouldn't think twice if I need a partner for anything, because she's the right amount of good and the right amount of bad to get things done.
And how far into, you know,
I'm updating my Instagram bio.
how far into, you know, Survivor did you, you know, come to the realization that this is, you know, maybe before you physically made the alliance, but, you know, how was it mentally? Like, was there a mental alliance of wanting to work together far before you actually ever spoke, or?
Yeah, I think I just felt it. On me, it was just a feeling. Like, we never really said we're locking in till the end. Yeah, we kind of would say the Migos till the end, whatever, but I never really went to Nicole and specifically said, Nicole, you and I are going to... But it was like, whenever someone was talking nonsense about me to Nicole, I would know that it's fine, Nicole's there, I'll be okay. I
There was never that doubt.
Yes, there were, and it was just a feeling that we had the whole time. Whenever we're around each other, we're comfortable. And it just happened on its own. You feel these things more than you see them.
You know, everyone's sussing each other out in the first few days, and you can watch conversations happening everywhere. And we were just sitting in the shelter the one day, and he looked over at me and he said, you know, Nicole, that I trust you more than anyone else. And I said, yeah, you too. That was it. That was the only conversation we ever had. Yeah. And then from there, we just shared all the information and we just stuck together.
Sure. And behind the scenes, how different was it, you know, experiencing what actually goes on behind the scenes? You know, like, how many cameras were there? Were you shocked by how few set members there was, or how many there was? You know, what did you experience that you weren't expecting?
We can talk about some of it because I've seen some of the information in the public domain. One of it is things like gag order. So when the camera's on shooting, we are not allowed to speak, and we technically even have to look down. That is to keep the integrity of the story for you guys. So, for example, we saw 3 places in Survivor. It was the camp, Challengers, and Tribal Council. Some of these sets are very far away, so we actually travel in vehicles. We walk down the beach, we hop into cars. While we're in those cars, it is blindfolded so that you don't see anything out in the outside world. It's like, for example, a mom. Let's say she's been on Survivor for long enough now, and we're traveling to a challenge or tribal council, and she sees a child. That child will take her mind back home, and suddenly she's out of the game. So they do their best to keep us in the Survivor universe, and that's all we see. So the challenges, the amount of cameras that are there are incredible, but you eventually start not even seeing the cameras.
It does add to the excitement of it when you arrive there and suddenly your blindfolds are taken off and there's this exhilaration because there's an elaborate set in front of you, this obstacle course. Beautiful. And just tons, like 20 cameras. And, you know, there's just this crew of people waiting, and now you have to perform. Now you're hungry, you're tired, you're broken, you're cold, you're cut and bleeding, and you have to get out there and fight like you're going to die. It's the best feeling. I mean, there were a couple of challenges where I passed out afterwards, and you just lie there until you're feeling better. There's, you know.
And there were obviously times where you're just like, I want to give up. This is it for me.
No.
I felt it one, 2 times, yeah, but I never let it really go far. But there are times where you are so broken, especially the hunger. Not just the hunger, but it's the sleep deprivation. We don't sleep well at night. Like, something you don't see in the show is that we spend quite a few nights literally huddling up, holding each other, shivering and crying, waiting for the sun to come up, because this water is just all over you. The wind is on you. You can't get away from it. There's no way you can go. And I even thought that, okay, these people have to put us somewhere safe right now. This is reaching hypothermia sort of stages. But no, they don't. It's really real. There's no behind-the-scenes assistance, other than medically if you need it,
Yeah. What I really walked away with was this immense respect for the purity of their reality television. We've heard of other reality shows, we've seen and heard the rumors, and, you know, it's not always reality. Survivor Universe is a bubble that you go into that is absolute purity. You have to survive. You have to fight for your life on that island with people, with personalities, with your energy levels. Everything is a fight for survival. And the story that they tell is the accurate story. They can't fit everything into a show, and yes, they dramatize things, but it's the accurate story. And even just the gag order and, you know, preserving that reality to make sure that you don't miss anything at home. So we don't have a conversation, you know, in a vehicle on the way somewhere that nobody gets to hear. Those small little things. So once you arrive on the set and they take your blindfolds off and there's the obstacle course in front of you, that pure reaction of, okay, guys, this is it. This is real. Those conversations are kept and shown.
And, you know, where was it exactly?
Samoa.
So would you guys be able to take your families there one day? Say,
I want to.
Obviously, I assume that they disassemble the sets and everything, or is it like a fixture that's just always there and then every season there?
Down. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty cool to, I met Clint shortly before Survivor, and I've said to Rob when we were there, like, I don't even know if this guy's still going to be waiting for me when I get home. I think that was why it was so incredible when he actually arrived for family visit, and that tore me apart. I was broken to see that somebody would travel across the world for me, to see me for 10 minutes.
How long were you guys together before Survivor?
It was about 6 months.
Okay.
And I think you are on an island, you realize what's important. You have no distractions. You're there to just think. And there's moments where you sit there in the morning and the only thing connecting you in Samoa to South Africa is the time zone. It's exactly 12 hours apart. So you sit there on the beach in the morning watching the sunrise and okay, my kids are going to bed now.
Okay.
The night before. And, I wonder where my person is. I wonder what they're doing. And then that night you're sitting on the beach watching the sunset, or you're sitting at Tribal watching the sunset. And you're knowing that they're waking up, getting ready for school and starting their day. That's like this connection. And you think, okay, what kind of life do I want when I get back from Survivor? And you want those people in it. And I never forget, every challenge I bent down in the sand and I drew their initials in the sand at my feet. I'm like, I'm doing this for them. And there were always those 3 initials in the sand. And that for me was taking a brave leap, I think, in trusting and loving. And I think the bravest thing for me is not facing cold and mountains. The bravest thing is actually trusting people and having relationships, and to walk away with, a wedding proposal when I got back, and Pastor Rob recently married us. That was pretty cool.
I'm sort of laughing because I'm just remembering something. The first day I saw Clint, it so much made sense to me. I was like, no wonder this chick is not interested in me. Look at this guy. Because the whole time we were on the island, like, we're talking and hear about Clint, but you're not married. It's like, yeah, but still, there was no sort of sign of interest anyway. And I didn't understand why. So, okay, I do understand I'm dirty and stuff, but go on, And then when I met Clint, it made complete sense. And then when I met him as a person, then it was like 100%, okay, no, really proper.
But you beat him in a challenge, Rob. You will always.
Well, thanks to my mom, okay? Things were looking bleak, and I said, Mommy, please save me.
So you obviously did it for your family. Who was your motivation and your driving force throughout?
My motivation was, obviously, I haven't got kids or a wife or anything. It was literally just I was in so broken. Like, my life was so down that this was the one chance I had to completely turn things around. I'd been suffering for many years. So for me, everyone had jobs to go back to at home. Everyone had a life. I didn't. For me, it was this or nothing. So I put there was no option. It was pure desperation that kept me fighting as hard as I did. Yeah.
That was really inspiring to watch as well. To watch somebody doing it for themselves. And I think I also realized when I was there, it was also for myself, but he was putting himself first and deciding what kind of man he wanted to be. And everything that he did on that island was celebrating, this is who I want to be when I leave the island. It was very cool to watch.
And your guys' personal, development, and did you find you actually, even other people around you have said, like, you've actually slightly changed in certain aspects of your life because of your time on Survivor?
Drastically, yes. The person that goes to the island is not the person that comes back if you're there for long enough. I can assure you that it changes you for life. I mean, I never waste food. Even if you don't finish your food, I'll try to finish your food for you, because there was times I was sitting at island thinking to myself, there's people back home I know right now, they're sitting in restaurants, they're sending their food back, they're complaining because this is like this. And I was like, I would eat that. I would eat your leftovers off a plate right now. I would even eat it if you put it in the dustbin at this stage. That is how hungry we were, and I would have done that. So that sort of grows up gratitude for your appreciation for what you have. So you come back with a whole new refound feeling of gratitude for everything around it. Just be able to open the fridge and get food. That's just, you change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also walked away with gratitude, but also I think understanding my potential a little bit better. I think I underestimated myself because, and I always do, maybe that's a trait a lot of women have as well. And it grew my confidence, mostly because I learned to make mistakes and publicly make mistakes. I wouldn't call it mistakes. I would call it being a lot more real, a lot more raw and exposed. That was the biggest gift that I got. Even now with raising my kids, my son comes home from school and he's crying because he's sobbing outside the car because he did something wrong with his friend and he upset his friend. And I said to him, you know what, my boy, it's okay to feel like that, but one day you're going to walk away and you're going to laugh at yourself instead of crying at yourself. And that is the biggest skill you can learn in life, is to laugh at yourself. And to get to sit back and watch yourselves
Yeah, that
So
must
it
have
was
been
cool.
very interesting watching yourselves. And did you get to see some of the footage that was produced before, or did you have to watch live?
We watched it with you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, up until the end, because the winner was announced. Had you already come off the island and everything, and then you heard about who the winner was?
Yeah, no one knew.
Yeah.
I knew for sure. Yeah.
Because the tribal council was on the
live.
set and everything.
Yeah,
With the final tribal
final
council.
yeah, on set, and then they don't read the votes out to us.
Yeah.
And then we do it live, so we find out
Yeah,
exactly.
the
the
reactions
same
were
time.
real and live, and
Yeah.
you know, how was that? You know, with an audience, because obviously the whole time on the island, other than the camera crew, you don't have an audience. You know, now you're getting that reaction, you getting the news live in front of, I don't know, 300, 400 people, whatever, they were at the set.
Yeah. It was. I had my heart in my throat at the end there when Nicole and I were sitting on 4-4. My heart was here. I try to hide it on the cameras, but I think if you really look carefully, you can see that this man is shitting bricks right now. It was incredible. I'm proud of her though. She came so close.
It was so great to sit there and watch. And both our families were there in the front row. And just to see and witness that moment. You know, I've had that moment with Mrs. South Africa, with the glitter falling from the sky and just that moment of absolute insane glory. And just knowing that the right person won it. I wouldn't have been that happy if, you know, it wasn't you.
But obviously, I
would've-
assume there was still,
I would not have been happy.
Wow.
but there was still obviously a little bit of sadness because you never won, I assume.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, you came second, you're still a winner, you know.
I don't think I ever really believed that I could or should have, maybe. That was possibly one of my downfalls. But I wouldn't have changed it, not for anything.
And in your life, do you also feel like that, maybe that, you know, you don't deserve something, or
All the time, imposter syndrome, all the time.
I think as humans we all experience that. We will sometimes, you know, be sitting there like, how am I at this position? Like I don't actually deserve to be where I am, and you know, what have I done? And I think that's actually it's a good thing to think, because you know, I was listening to a podcast yesterday where the guy was like saying, you know, it's obviously, you know, like The Secret, the book, where he was saying like, don't just almost believe things are going to come into your life when you're doing nothing. Obviously, you have to work for it. You have to put out ideas and you have to believe it's going to happen, but you also have to work for it. At the end of the day, you can't sit on your couch and be like, I know that 10,000 Rand check is going to land in my lap right now. And like, you couldn't think that for as long as you want. It's not going to happen. Whereas if you put that positivity out and you actually work for it, you know, it's going to happen. And did you guys, you know, well, actually staying on you, do you, you know, now afterwards thinking like, you know what, I actually am more deserving. I am, you know, I look at the impact I had on my family, my kids, those around me, the women on Instagram, the men on Instagram. You know what, maybe I am actually deserving.
I was publicly told by my children's father when I got back that I am a bad mother and that I abandoned my children and that I shouldn't be a mother for what I did. And I say that publicly now because I've healed from that and it's made me a better person. I went on that show and I think I discovered my own power, and I can look back and say, wow, I'm a badass. And yes, you need to be humble always, but to surround yourself with people that recognize your badassery is really cool and important. People that also call you out on your, So I had this discussion in the car with my son the other day, and someone said to me when we left for Survivor, just an acquaintance said, never forget the power that exists within you. Never forget that you have everything you need to be able to achieve what you want to while you're there. And I held on to that, I promise you, because there's no one to save you when you're there. You have to find that power inside of yourself. And my son said to me, I want to wear something around my neck because I want it to keep me safe. And it was like a symbol, a religious symbol. And not that I have anything against that. And I said, absolutely, my boy. We're going to go and choose you something. But I want you to choose something that reminds you of the power that is already inside of you, not an external power that will save you. Only because I want my kids to grow up with an accountability, just like you said, that they need to take an action, not lie back and wait to be saved or rescued or given an opportunity. And every time in my life where I found myself in this stall pattern where nothing's happening, I realized I'm actually just waiting for someone to drop something in my lap. If I want something, I need to actually go out and take action and do it. That's not what your question was. But
No, but it answers it perfectly. No way.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying, you can't just sit and manifest. It's very similar to actual nature. Right now in the garden, if I went and took a seed, threw it in the sand, watered it, and had sunlight, when the time is right, that seed will germinate. Now your mind is the exact same thing. So think of your mind as fertile soil, because it is. It's very fertile soil. Any idea you plant inside of your mind is potentially a seed. Now, that seed will germinate, but it needs two more things. It needs water and sunlight. Water is your actions. You have to do something about it. You have to go out there and do something. So it needs water. The last thing is sunlight. Sunlight is your emotions. You need to be emotionally invested in something. You need to envision it already happening. You need to be excited about it happening. You need to feel it as if it already has happened. You combine all those elements, mark my words, you can manifest anything in your life. That seed will germinate. It's a law.
And it's something as humans, people need to understand is obviously wishful thinking is great, but wishful thinking with action. And it's not wishful thinking like, oh, I hope this happens. It's, I actually deserve this to happen. Yes. And it's not arrogance. It's confidence in your own ability, and it's positivity within yourself. And it's difficult as humans because, you had someone, obviously your ex-husband, who, puts you down and, is negative towards your actions and the things and the decisions you make. And, as humans, as we all inherently, someone tells us something, inherently, naturally, we just believe it.
Yes, but I wish that we could, and it's taken me so long. I'm 36 years old now, and I'm only learning these lessons. I wish this is the kind of stuff we were taught in school, like practical stuff, not to be a victim, because that accusation that he laid at my feet, that it wasn't just his accusation, it was the accusation of half of Twitter, was an attack that I needed. And when you go through these hard times and critical times and people judging you, and my son crying outside a car because his friend's upset with him, those are the moments that teach you who you really are and who you want to be. So I had to look at, am I a good mother? What are my values? What am I trying to instill in my kids? And if that resistance hadn't come to me, I wouldn't have the intense beliefs that I do, and my kids wouldn't be growing up with the perspective that they do. So instead of sitting back and saying, well, these are my circumstances and, it's so tough and being a victim. Yes, I come from privilege. I fully acknowledge my white privilege, my privilege in many areas of my life. I had a tertiary education, paid for by my parents. That's an advantage that so many people never get. You acknowledge what you have as a privilege, and then don't you dare take your disadvantage and your problems and make that your excuse for not achieving. Everybody has a set of parameters in life. How do you take that and make that work for you? And if you do have privilege, that is your responsibility to help somebody else and to make that a purpose in someone else's life.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone, obviously I'm also coming from someone from privilege, but I don't think anyone should be like, oh, this is just the cards I've been dealt and accepted. Nobody, obviously if you're happy and you genuinely do accept it, fine. And if you don't have those aspirations to achieve whatever, that's fine. But if you actually want something different, it's up to you to make the change.
Correct.
And you obviously, so I mean, you say you were going through a tough time, and then you went to on that trip. That obviously was just you making the change and also kind of reassessing what's important to you and what you want to achieve going forward.
Yeah, it was a simple change in mindset. So this is how I've seen it work. You get, let's put, say, poverty here, and we've got people with wealth here. The people with wealth are used to it. So they believe money is easy to come across, and it will be easy to come across. If you're raised in a place of poverty, and poverty is all you see, you believe money is hard to come across. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible to get out. There's a lot of people who grew up in very tough circumstances and just come out, and they come out hard. They flourish, they thrive, they actually beat everyone. It's because they had a change in belief and mindset. And that's what happened with me when I did the ayahuasca. I didn't believe in myself. In fact, I used the last of my money to actually go and do this thing. I came back done for, but the things that the mind had changed. I believed, I saw it, I envisioned it, and I could feel that I can actually achieve greatness now. And that is all it was. It was a switch in the mind. And that's why I always say, start with the mind, and everything else from there will...
And it wasn't, you being arrogant, thinking like, I can achieve greatness.
No, I felt it, I could see it. And I was like, I'm worth it, All of us are. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that, but once you own yourself, once you remember you own your power back again. We didn't come here to struggle. We're supposed to be living a beautiful journey and learning and growing as souls. So poverty is something that's actually foreign to us. That's why it doesn't feel right.
I want to ask you a question. But, on the island, everybody at some point broke. And that cracks, those cracks started to show.
Yeah.
And that's when they had to go home.
Yeah. Have time for you now.
But also, every one of us broke emotionally. Like inside, you break. And when we walk away, I think that was what we appreciated and loved and missed about the island, is that healthy process of breaking. Do you think that in life in general, we all have to break?
I think we have hurdles that are always put in front of us to make us stronger. So if everything's always good, you're not going to learn anything. At the end of the day, you came here to grow. You came here to learn. And if everything is just easy, you don't grow. It's actually only hardships and hurdles that make you a stronger person, because you come out of it. Yes, it's tough while you're in it, but every time you conquer something, you come out of it, you come out a stronger person than you were before at.
But even your ayahuasca journey, it's breaking you. It's a physical break.
Yeah, you purge.
Yeah.
It destroys you. I mean, I thought I was dead at a point, You have to confront doors that you've closed for many years. It opens all that up, and it breaks you and pulls you back up strong again.
I mean, I know when I faced a lot of stuff in my life, at every single point, it pulls you lower and lower. It can make you more depressed. It can make you more anxious. It can make you feel more and more sorry for yourself. And I think it actually takes you getting to that point that low point of breaking, when you realize, stuff it. This is what I want to be. This is who I want to be. I will do anything to be there. No longer a victim of my circumstances, but you have to get there.
Yeah.
In closing,
if
you guys could choose one superpower that you could have had on the island, what would it be?
Telepathy.
You have
listen to you guys' thoughts.
I was your telepathy. I was your web. I was the internet.
I'll take it, telepathy. What's yours?
The inability to get hungry.
Yes, my secret skill would actually be just a thicker skin. So I wasn't so cold.
Yeah.
That was the worst part, was being so cold.
Yeah.
So that you would say that's different. The worst thing you experienced there was just the cold.
Because you can't sleep in the cold? Yeah.
I was the raccoon. I ate everything off the floor. You'd find moldy rice on the side of a rock next to the fire, and you just peel it all, eat it.
But I was oozing heat, so everyone wanted to sleep next to me at night. I remember that one.
You were warm. Not hot, warm.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
having us.
Of course, and thank you guys for listening. Cheers.